Right. Okay. So this is a talk encompassing all the things that I learnt on my journey through paragliding, really. Um, there were not very many books when I started. There were no track logs, nothing really to help me. And we couldn't take photographs. The only photographs we could take were photographs with handheld cameras. And when you were learning, you really didn't need anything else to distract you. So these are all the things that I've learned on my travels that I'm hoping you will find useful. As Richard said, if you want to ask questions on that particular topic that the slide is on, that's fine. Otherwise, all other questions, if you want to write them down and keep them to the end, if it's more general. But I'll try and go through. I've got quite a lot to go through, and hopefully it will flow. And I apologise if it doesn't. Anyway, you'll all recognise this. This is Westbury. Nice little climb out from Westbury, just to start us off. So what instruments do you need when you start out? It's an expensive hobby, sport, whatever you want to call it. And probably you don't have a huge amount of money to spend. Certainly some people don't. So just a vario, an audible vario, something small, something old, doesn't matter, as long as you can hear it and it gives you lift and sink. As you move on, you'll probably want more things, more toys, more technology. And what I've got on my flight deck is what you see at the bottom, which is my new Christmas present to myself. So Phil did have one as well, which is the Flarm, XC Tracer with the Flarm, Udi in the middle, customized screen because I like colours, and my compass, which hopefully I'm never going to need, which should assist me if I was going to get into some cloud. Right, so you sent me some questions. Several people sent me the same sorts of questions, and so I've tried to incorporate your questions into what I'm going to tell you. So will it be rough? The answer to that is yes, it might be. The sort of air that we're flying, if you're flying on the coast, it's all lovely and laminar and it's very smooth. Once you start thermaling, or once you start flying inland, it tends to get bumpy. Richard, you've got one. Oh, you've found him.
Yeah,
That's right. We had one to admit. That's okay. So thermic air, inland air, is not like coastal air. It moves you around. It's a little bit like the difference between paddling a canoe on a lake or paddling a canoe down a moving river. If you ridge soar, just go up and down on a thermic site like Westbury or Backham or Bell, what happens is the thermals and the little bits and bobs that are coming up the hill, you tend to fly in, you bump into it, bump out of it, bump into it, bump out of it. So what you're doing is you're actually making your job rather more difficult. If you turn when you hit a lifty bit and turn back, then you'll even out the bumpy air. So keep turning, do more turns, don't do less turns. Otherwise, it's like you're almost flying down a cobbled street and you're bump, 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 bump the whole time, which can make it quite off-putting. I don't like it. Nobody likes it. When you start, it's not much fun. So if you're finding it difficult, see if you can stay another few minutes, another 5 minutes, and then go and land. Reward yourself. Go and land. Have a break. Have, I don't know, cigarette or vaping or whatever it is you do. Have a sandwich. Then have another go. Just don't try and do too much. If it's really, really uncomfortable, just do another couple of beats. Go and land. You have to practice. I flew inland many, many years ago on one of our tiny little sites, the one near Lambert's Castle. Can't remember the name of it now, with the big pylon there. Phil would know which one I mean. Pardon?
Yeah,
Coney's, that's the one. horrible sight. And we were flying there, Jeff and Mark Hoare, Phil and I, a few others, and I hated it. And I said to Mark, I landed and I said, it's horrible. And he said, yes, he said, I know, but he said, you're not going to get any better if you don't do it. No, I don't suppose I am. So I kept taking off, do a few beats, land. Anyway, that was the way I cope with it. So it's small steps. It's not giant steps. You can look at everybody else in the air. Their gliders are all flying perfectly well. So yours probably is looking exactly the same as theirs. Theirs aren't collapsing. So however much yours feels like it might be, it probably isn't. So what you need to do is try and find your comfort zone, wherever it is, and then just stretch it a little bit. And what you'll find is over the season, over a month, few weeks, each flight, you will get better and you'll be more comfortable, but you have to do it. And the really, really experienced pilots, unless they're the real acro guys and people who really don't mind the very, very rough stuff, they don't like it, but they learn to cope with it. And that's what we all have to do. I've lost the top of my, have you lost the top? How do I lose this? How do I lose this horrible bar at the top? Do you know?
How do you lose it?
Know? It's the zoom bar. Ah, yes. I don't really want it there. I want it gone. How do I get it gone? Anybody know? Can't see the top. Anyway, what it says is coping with height. So when I started, Phil, because he was the experienced person that I used to fly with at the start, height is safety. Yes, I know, but I don't like being that high. I'm used to sitting on a horse. I'm not used to being up in the air, you know, looking down, going, oh shit, I'm ever so high. And when I had a altimeter that ticked up the height in feet, that got even worse. And when I got over 1,000 feet, that was really just a little bit, a bit too much. So again, the way to deal with your worry about height, if that is your worry, and it's not everybody's, but it was certainly mine, is fly out. Fly out from the hill, out over the fields at the front, climb up, keep flying out, and then fly back to the hill. You will lose height as you fly back to the hill. Try again. Keep doing it and keep doing it. And just look at the amazing view that we've got. And breathe, because otherwise you just get more and more tense and things don't work. You just lose your threads and it's difficult, but don't put yourself under pressure. If you don't like it, fly out, lose a little bit of height, fly back in where you're comfortable. Even if you have to land, take off and have another go. So little steps. Right, so coping with traffic, that's the next thing. This is a hill, this is Eam Edge in Derbyshire. This actually was a BP Comp competition day. And this hill is quite small. For them, they apologise when we go there. They say it's a very, very small hill. Well, to us, it's actually quite a decent hill. Faces southwesterly, generates thermals like really, really well. So the difficulty with flying this site is you have to cope with ridge traffic, but you also have to cope with when the thermal comes through, everybody starts to try and climb. So you have to work your way through the traffic. You have to be aware of what's going on. And this at the moment would be a normal ridge soaring pattern. Now, here you would, the thermals kick here, and this is a pub called the Barrel Inn, and the thermals kick here, and they also kick behind me. So people go up and down, and I've got a little bit of height here, so I'm flying this way, and there isn't anything happening there at the moment because you can see this glider here is not very high, and everybody's tracking back to see if they can get a bit of height in the bit behind me. So you work your way through the traffic, keeping an eye on them, bearing in mind that if they find a bit of thermic lift, they will turn, and they'll turn in front of you. So you need to apply your, oh, sorry, phone's just going. Hang on, I'm just trying to shut it up. Right, gone. We never have phone calls except tonight. So what I would say is, when you're ridge soaring and there's quite a lot of traffic, if you can look for the pattern, and mostly the ridge soaring pattern is down the ridge, turn, back up the ridge. And if everybody keeps a really good lookout, then, oh dear, then there aren't any problems. Everybody keeps a good lookout. And on this sort of site, because people might be climbing, you need to look below you, because they might be coming up. If they're turning, as you're flying forward, they might come up. Look behind you, look side to side and ahead.
Oh, for God's sake.
Can you shut that up, Phil? Or answer it or something?
Hello?
Yeah. Turn your microphone off. Sorry.
I should have muted Phil now.
Have you muted him?
I hope so.
Yeah,
Right,
his
okay.
show is muted.
Good, excellent. Apologies for that. Are you all looking at my Zoom bar at the top or not?
No.
If I move it,
No.
you've just got the slide, have you?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I wish I could get rid of this stupid bar. Anyway, right, okay. So the site I showed you just now, this is actually climbing out from that particular site. And once you find your climb, once people start climbing, if you can climb with them, it's almost like getting on a carousel, and you just follow everybody around. You are climbing, they are climbing, keep your distance from the glider in front of you, and the one behind you, don't make any sudden moves, just follow the direction. Fortunately, they're going right, which is my favorite direction. Lester's not keen on flying to the right, turning right. He likes turning left. I like turning right. Most people in the UK seem to turn right. So I'm happy with this. My distance is good. And we just kept going round and kept going up, which was great. Right, thermals. To go on to try and explain to you what thermals are like, for years, I struggled with what is a thermal? What does it look like? I like mental pictures. I'm a visual learner. And if I've got a picture in my head of what I think is there, that helps me. Now, when you look at a lot of the books will tell you, and the pictures that they give you are thermals like this, which is a column. And pretty much in the UK, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I don't think we get those. Very, very rarely. What we get are these bubbles. And you'll get a bubble, it grows and then it pops away, and hopefully you're in a position to go with it. But we don't get these constant pulsing house thermals like they get places like Annecy and places like Sopot in Bulgaria, because quite a few of you know Bulgaria. We don't get those sort of thermals which are there constantly and pretty much in the same place. So if you can try and work out on any particular day what is happening on the site, the chances are it'll be a bubble. You get a bubble and then there's a pause and then you wait and then there's another one. Maybe in the same place, maybe further down the ridge, maybe somewhere else. This one, Mendip Gliding Club, very kindly said I could use their image here, which I think is quite good. Explains what's actually happening on a hill on a decent possible cross-country day. Is sun heats the ground, as you all know, bubbles created, bubble lifts away, and then as it lifts off and gets higher, eventually it condenses and we get cloud. That's standard. So if you can try and form a picture of what's happening and where particularly the thermals are popping, if you're at Westbury, they pop on that sort of nose between Bratton and by the White Horse. And then further down the ridge towards the riding school, the thermal comes up there or come up over the quarry. And in between, you have areas of not much. So knowing on any particular day where they're going to come up is really useful, because you can try and get yourself to the right place or hang about there and see what comes up and see if you can use it. So this is what I see, I think happens on a lot of our hills. It's thermal bubbles, and Backham, Fell, again, pulse, bubble goes away, people go with it, you're scrabbling about and underneath, they're climbing somewhere like here, you're scrabbling about here, thermal goes, and you're back scrabbling about in the next bit on the hill. That's my view. Other people might have different views, but I've always found if I can imagine what's happening on the hill on the day, then I've got a better chance of making the most of what's there and hopefully getting up. This image came up, I found it some years ago on the internet. I can't remember where. I think I was looking at radio controlled models and how they fly them in thermic air, because they fly them quite a distance away. And I don't know anything about radio controlled models, but I know when they're trying to soar them, some of the guys are pretty good. And this particular graphic, Neville Almond put in an article that he wrote for Skywings some while ago. And this to me was the first time that I saw anything that I thought resembled what happens on our hills, basically, or in the flats in the UK. Basically, it's a bit of a mess. And if you can work any of these that eventually will be pulled in to these big fat trees, then as it goes up, it gets easier and it gets better. What we get, I think, is a lot of this broken stuff, which may or may not turn into anything, might be pulled into something fatter. And then you'll have your clouds on the top. So that, to me, it gives me a fairly good representation of what I think is actually happening. So, oops, sorry. Right. Strong lift. Somebody asked about what happens if you get into some strong lift. And if you, even on one of our small hills, we get decent thermals, we get decent bits of lift. I mean, you can be on Backham and you can have some really, really quite strong stuff that comes through. If you happen to go with it, if you're lucky enough and you're maybe with other people and you start to climb, and if it's strong and it's getting strong, and maybe the cloud base could be quite low, it could be 2,000 feet. So you'd get up there maybe fairly soon. If you don't like it, it's outside your comfort zone, then fly away. And for me, I use big ears. Big ears and bar will get you away from something because you're moving. You're not hanging about under the cloud. I know people talk about spiraling, and I know Lee Trihorn spoke about spiraling, but if the lift is strong and you're spiraling, you're actually not going anywhere. You're still in it. So you just as well put your ears on, put your bar on, and head to the edge of it. There will be sink around these thermals. There is sink. If you've got your bar on, you've got your ears in, just keep going. Don't let it off. Just stay with it. It might be slow. You might feel slow because the thermal's pulling, but you will go out through it. You will end up probably in a lot more sink than you thought you would be, and you'll be on the ground pretty quick. Speed bar in strong air isn't something that I would recommend. Certainly not for people without much experience. It isn't something I tend to use a massive amount. I use speed bar for gliding, and maybe in strongish winds, certainly on the coast, but I don't tend to use my bar a lot, just gliding really. So I hope that answers that question. this bit of video, this is the North-South Cup on Haybluff 2018. And Annie took this video, which is lovely, standing on the ground. And I think hopefully it'll work. If you don't see the video, Richard, shout, because I'll have to share another screen. Hold on. Right, I've got to share. Share. Can you see a video or not?
Not a
New
video,
share. Hold
no.
on. Right, new share. Here we go. Play.
Right, we have video.
And you should, there is a bit of sound, but not all that much. This is a really good video because we had 2 thermals, and the first group were under this cloud. They were off early and under the cloud, really good thermal. And then a second group of us took off, and we're also circling. And the 2 clouds eventually got together. But the interesting bit with this one is you'll see the point at which the tail of the thermal pulls away. So everybody's climbing quite nicely. It's quite a strong day. And you see gliders coming up below. And I'm hoping my bar isn't in the way. And now, yeah, she's taken us back onto that thermal, and then she hopefully bring us back again. And you can see the gliders at the bottom dropping out as the thermal pulls away. There they go. And it was really strong on the ground. It was really strong on the ground. Right, are we back on the original slideshow now?
We are.
Excellent, that's good. Right, that worked then. Okay, so as I said before, if you want to find lift on the ridge, don't just go up and down in a straight line. If you find something that's a little bit stronger, then turn. Look around. Obviously, you must clear your turns for other traffic. And if you're flying with other people, even if there's only just a couple of other people, you must look. You must be looking all the time. You want to be like one of those nodding dogs in the back of the car with your head almost on a swivel. Look behind you, look above you. If you lose somebody, if you were flying with, oh yeah, that's that blue ozone, and you've lost it, find it. Don't just assume that it's somewhere else. You need to know at all times where the gliders closest to you are or where they've gone. If he's turned around and gone the other way and you didn't happen to notice, okay, fine, but find it. Because if you know where everybody is, then you aren't going to have a problem. And for all people say, oh, well, ridge on the right. Yes, ideally, yes. But if people are trying to thermal and people are trying to ridge soar, there will be conflicts. Everybody must keep a good lookout. And if people are turning, you know, either turn back if you don't like it because they're turning in front of you, turn back and go the other way. You really must keep a really good lookout. It is so important. The one thing that I've learnt that's helped me more than anything in my flying is flying figure eights. And if you can fly really good figure eights, you can use them in lots and lots of places. I mean, I've used the figure eight pattern, because you're turning, you're honing your turns really. And if you can turn back and not disturb the glider too much, people get obsessed with circling, but in fact you can sometimes just figure eight, S turn, more efficiently in certain bits of lift than you can try and turn. If you want to circle, you have to have a lot of room to circle. You don't have to have a lot of room just to do a little 180. And I've been low on ridges a number of times, and what I've done is sort of reversed up the ridge in the lift, going left to right, and you can turn, and almost as soon as you've turned one way, little bit of brake, little bit of weight shift, turn back and turn back and turn back. So you're going left to right all the time, and reverse your way up the ridge in a sometimes quite, little bits of lift. It's really good for that. And the other reason I use figure eights is when you're on a hill, maybe, I don't know, sometimes Bell, Westbury particularly, it's busy. There's a lot of people around. Everybody is trying a thermal, everybody. And as soon as somebody circles, they get mobbed. Everybody's there on top of you. If you are finding a little bit of a climb and you figure eight, nobody notices you. You can just fly forward just a little bit. You just do side to side, figure eight, and you can climb. And when you've got far enough up and far enough out, then you can put your turn in. And by then you're that little bit higher than they are. And then they, oh, she's turning. Oh, quick, we'll all rush over there. So it is really, really useful. And I also use it if I'm not sure about top landing. Sometimes Bossington, Woolacombe, you can figure eight back. You would, if your landing's here, I don't know, I'd come across here all the way back, look at the landing, I can look over my shoulder and I can turn and I can look over my shoulder again and see if people are landing, see what's happening to them. I've reversed into quite a few places, so using that pattern, it works for me, especially if you happen to have a field and you're landing in very strong winds. And I'll show you something in a minute which sort of proves my point really. But yeah, I've reversed a lot of times. Now everybody is aware of what happens. The US turn here, yeah, do all your S turns, figure eights and whatever, and clear over the top of the hill, then you can start to turn right. So you don't want to turn low. It's not a good idea. There was an incident some years ago on Bell where somebody turned really low and actually turned into someone who was launching. I forget who was involved. I think the pilot who turned was a foreign pilot. Somebody on the takeoff just put their glider up, and the glider, so say thermal back, thermal straight into the lines of the glider that had just gone up. I think he hit the deck pretty hard, and I think he broke his back. So, yeah, doing that sort of thing in front of takeoff was wrong, and he wasn't high enough, so that was silly. Again, I got to move this bar so I can see. Yeah, circling back low in wind is not a good idea. Light winds, your circles, and you probably all know this anyway, you aren't going to travel much. Your circle's going to be pretty much where you want it. Once there's any wind, you turn your back on the wind, you are traveling. If it's a strong wind day, if it's a strong thermal day, you are going to be from this point here, the rest of your turn. Sometimes it can take you quite a long time to come round, and it's quite hard work. So this bit, yeah, fine, that's you're whizzing there, and then coming round here, whole different ball game. And if you're low on the hill here, this is what happens. You can very quickly find yourself behind the hill, and that is not good at all. Not a good place to be. So make sure, do your S's, do your figure eights, get up, then you can start to circle. But don't do circles low. It just is a bad idea. Right, hunting for thermals. This is a bit of a track log. This was Merthyr a few years ago. I wanted to show you what the pattern looks like if you're hunting. And you can be up and down, a few circles back, push forward, up and down, figure eights, twirl around, working every little bit that you've found. So once your Vireo starts singing, turn out, and then just see what you can find with little turns. Even if you do, even if you're turning, S-ing forward, but keep turning. Don't fly straight. Explore the air. Just push a little bit forward. See what's there. If you are looking below you and find which particular bit of the hill that you're on, are you by a pile of stones or, I don't know, a bush, a tree, something? What's there? How far are you traveling? You know, is it just on that bit of the hill? Is the lift all the way along the hill? Explore. Don't just fly up and down, not taking in any information. So you found a little bit of lift. You're starting to get up. Should you go anywhere? Now, you can be not terribly experienced and you can find something decent. And if you are, you can all turn, you can all steer. If you keep going, you will climb, and you could climb quite high. If it's going well, if you're comfortable with it, you might be falling in and out of it. It doesn't matter. As long as you're going up, that's good. So keep going with it. And if it takes you over the back, it might take you over the back, I don't know, 2, 3, 4K. You might end up on the ground then. One bit of a thermal, all right, you fell out the thermal. But fly off, land over the back of the hill, and walk back. If you haven't gone very far, you'll be able to walk back. It's no big deal. We used to, well, until this year, if you went anywhere, somebody come fetch you. It probably will still happen again, whether it's going to be next year or the year after, I don't know. But if you want to go and you think you're high enough and you look downwind and there's nice green fields behind you and you're high enough to reach them, then go. Just have a go. My first cross-country flight was, I think, 5K. I fell off Talibont. I circled up and then glided off over the back of the hill and landed in a big field with somebody else. And that was my first ever cross-country, and it was amazing. But just try. Don't try and fly back to the hill. If you've lost your climb, don't try and push back. You'll end up behind the hill. And if you're looking at a hill like Bell, you probably end up in the pigs. If you got that far back, there's trees. Monkstown, there was a big set of trees behind. Backham, there's a bit of a valley behind. Don't come back because the ground drops away and you could end up in trouble. So not a good plan. Right, we'll do this one. And then this was climbing out from Bell, this one, and I've got it in CU because it's quite interesting. It shows you, I've got to get rid of this stupid bar somewhere. Right, new share. This is CU. Are you seeing that, Richard?
Yep.
Good, excellent. I'll put it on. And this is a track. Phil and I climbed out together, and I think it's reasonably interesting. Let's put Phil on as well. When I find it. Okay, that's two of us. I'm the red, Phil is the blue. And if I play it, I want you to try and see what a pattern looks like when you're hunting and then successfully finding a climb. So this is Bell. Try and zoom in a bit for you. I think Phil was rigging or having his sandwiches or something. I'm not quite sure what he was doing, but anyway. So it's hunting basically, and keep hunting, and circles and turning, anything to try and hang on to the bits of lift that you're finding. So figure eights, yeah, that's my good figure eights. You have to hunt and you have to keep hunting, and some days you might not find anything on your first flight, might be your second flight, might be your third flight, but keep hunting. Don't
Phil's
give
just
up.
wiggled.
Pardon?
Phil's just wiggled.
Oh, right.
He's off.
So we're sort of hunting in the same place. I didn't put it in Avery or whatever else because I think a plan view is almost easier because you can see the pattern. So if somebody's climbing, if somebody is fairly close to you, as Guy Anderson said to me some time ago, get yourself over there fast as you can. Get over there. If somebody's going up, get over there. And the more people there are on the hill, I know sometimes it's a bit off-putting if it's really busy, but the more people you've got, the more people you've got to see what's happening on the hill and how the lift is working. You can see areas that are working and areas that aren't. And as it changes. Now I abandoned this bit of a climb. I obviously wasn't very happy with it. And fortunately, it wasn't too strong a day. So I was able to come forward because Phil's found something. And I think there were quite a lot of other people there that day as well. So there we go. There's your thermal. There you are, off. So, yeah, and that one. Right. So that's what it looks like, a plan view of the start of a flight and how much hunting you have to do and how much time you have to spend in searching and sticking with it and going up and down and losing the height and finding it again and then going around in circles. And some days you think, oh, I've had enough of this, I'll land. And believe you me, as soon as you land, something kicks and you've lost it and everybody else is gone and you're sat on the ground. So don't get out your harness, whatever you do. Right. Do we want a break?
Yep. Good.
For a minute?
Idea. Yep.
Is that good? I mean, we've done nearly 45 minutes. Well, yeah, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Does everybody want a break, or do you want me to go on for a bit? What have we got to? Slide 21. So.
Well, I'm happy to carry on.
Everybody happy?
Well, they're all on mute.
Okay. Right. All right. I'll go on then. If
I'm happy.
Okay. Good.
I'm happy to carry on.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
So this is another day at Bell, about a month, 6 weeks later, and I want to show you what it looks like. If I could get rid of this bar, it'd be really good, but I can't, but never mind. I want to show you what it actually looks like. The thing that I could never work out is how am I going to know what it's like in the air? What's it going to be like? Now I've got photos, I know. And if I could have had photos before, it would have been really, really good. Anyway, this was a good sky at the start. There weren't many people on the hill. We were late getting there. It was about 1 o'clock, I think, when we got there and took off. So it was much later than we'd normally be. Fairly breezy and quite bumpy on the hill, because in the end I got fed up of being bumped about. So, right, here we go. I'm going to move you, Richard, a minute, because you're in the bottom corner. Right.
I won't notice.
Okay. So this is Bell Hill, which people will know, and lovely sky, nice day. Yeah, that's all great. And not many people there. We've been trying to thermal and bumping about, and I'd been bumping through the air for what seemed like forever, and I thought, oh, nuts. If I get something, I'll get up. That's fine. And when I actually got my climb, I looked over the back and I thought, oh, it's a bit dark. And it had also got quite windy. So going back, once I'd made my extra turn, wasn't really an option. So I thought, oh, nuts to it. I'll just have a little flop over the back. And Phil's on the hill. He won't come, so he can come and fetch me. And so this is looking downwind from Bell on that day. As you can see, there's quite a lot of overdevelopment to the east, because I'm looking south here, and this is what it looks like. So I carried on circling because I had a nice bit of lift, and there were some seagulls, so I joined them for a bit. Looking forward again, well, I've got a decent bit of height. I'll carry on circling, looking over the back, looking forward, looking over the back. Bits of sunshine, that looks all right. Well, there's quite a few fields, nice fields here, you know, nice fields here. That looks all right. I'll go and land somewhere back there. So I carried on circling. Nice bit of sunshine, and I carried on circling. And again, sunshine. Don't like this much, but this is okay. So I just carried on turning in circles, as you can see. Looking forward, looking back at the hill here, sky is completely different out the front. And so off I went. And I thought, oh, well, I should probably land here somewhere, I expect. I'm not going to go very far. I'm not very high. And it's not really a cross-country sort of day. So that was looking forward again, looking over the back. And, okay, shady now, bit of sunshine. Helen Gant, who's one of the Derbyshire pilots, good friend, who flies a lot cross country and is very good. Go for the sunshine, she says. You must go for the sunshine. Always go for the sunny bits. Doesn't matter how tiny they are, go for the sunny bits. So I thought, all right, well, here, I'm going to go because there's sun, there's nice big fields. So I just tootled on. Right, okay, lots and lots of landing options, not a problem. I haven't gone very far, doesn't matter. And so I just kept going. Okay, lots of landing. Yeah, there's the village, that'll be fine. Fields, sunshine. And when I got there, oh, I just did a few circles. This was really looking at the landing options. Right, okay, I'm going to land. Yeah, any of those will do. That's fine. Yeah, that's landing. Yeah, definitely landing now. And then I wasn't. And it worked. What worked? How it worked? I didn't know. But I thought, well, I can circle there because I've got loads of landing options underneath me. So I'll just do some circles. And away we went, which was great. And then looking downwind again, there's more sunshine. So I can happily, now the height I've got, I'm not that high. I can glide on and look at this because there's sun here. There's lots of landing options. So I might go a bit further. And I did. Anyway, that's enough of that. So let's go back to my slideshow, which is there. Right, so that was a nice little climb out, hop over the back, if you get a climb offered to you like that, take it. If you've never done it before, it's fun. And you probably wouldn't, I was probably too far to walk back. I could have, not that I want to walk that far with my bag, but somebody come and fetch you. You know, we use Telegram, it's not that far, you could hitch. I get taxis quite a lot, taxi to a village or something. But anyway, so if you're going to land, if you're looking at picking a landing field, how are you going to pick a landing field? Right, so this was another flight from, I think it was Coombe anyway. I'm always looking for where I can land. I don't fly over places I can't land. I wouldn't fly over big forests. I like to know that if I lose my climb, I can land. So for me, I pick the biggest field. I start with, okay, fields. And then once I've picked 1 or 2, maybe 3 fields, I start looking for the power lines. I start looking for animals. I don't like landing with cattle because they can mob you. Sheep, I'd land in the corner of a sheep field. Don't land behind trees. I will land in crops, preferable to landing with animals. Try and land on the tram lines. If they're small crops, it doesn't really matter too much. If you're near a main road, that's great. If you have got time, try and look for the gate, because sometimes the gate will be on the wrong side of the field for where you want to get out. It's a bit of a bore. So try and look for all those things. Right, so this was interesting. This was a flight Phil and I climbed out, the climb out you saw earlier, and we flew away. And even though it was quite a nice day, we seemed to, or Phil lost the climb first and then I lost it. So I decided we'd land together. Phil is here. He's this tiny little dot. And I watched him and I thought, oh, he's going to land. Okay, I'll land with him then. So this is our landing. Where are we? Yeah, that's it. Right, so this is Phil here. We got nice fields. He always picks nice fields, and he usually picks next to somebody with a house with a, who'll bring him out a cup of tea. I don't know how he manages to do that, but he does anyway. I've never managed that. So he's coming into land here. These are crop fields. These are dry. That's all good. Anywhere here would be fine. So Phil's coming into land, and I'm watching him. I'm flying in thinking, okay, I'll watch him land. If I watch him land, I'll have some idea what's going to happen. There he is, look, coming in there. There's tram lines. They're very small crops. There's not a problem. There he is. So if you look at this, there's 2 hedges and a track. Crop field behind. He's just landed. I've watched him land. No problem. This is never assume. So I'm coming in here. Yeah, there he is. Right, okay, all's good. And as I turn, whether it was a thermal kicked off, we think it probably was. I am not going forward at all. Well, only a little bit. Sufficient that if I'd carried on, I'd have been probably on the hedge because it was really quite strong. And I thought, if I get the glider down, glider will probably be over the hedge and I might be backwards into it. So I decided I'm not going to be able to get into the field he's in. I'm not going forward, and I'm really not going forward. So I'm now doing my bit of a figure of 8, and I landed in the field behind, back here. He's in here. This is the hedge, the track, 2 hedges. I'm all the way back here. Right, Phil's down there somewhere. You wouldn't want to be on any of this. So it's a big field. I could have backed all the way down it. So going back now to my, oh, right, hold on. Are you back on the slideshow?
No, we've got you now.
Not yet.
Okay, right, hold on then. Let me do, Escape that a minute. I got to do a new share, haven't I? Share screen. Nope, undo, sorry. Right. Right, so this is Phil's track. Okay, he's come in, right, sussing it out. Yeah, made a turn, flown forward and landed beautifully. I come in not many minutes behind him, flying not too different a track. All right, he's come from that direction, I've come from here. And as I get here, I am not going forward. I expected just to turn and just fly forward, and I didn't. So I had to do a little sort of S and land there. And I slid sideways. And if necessary, I'd have gone sideways across here because I didn't want to end up on the hedge. So even though somebody lands in front of you, please don't assume that everything will be the same for you, because it might not be. You need to very much make your own decisions based on what you find, and not saying, oh, it was okay for him, so it'll be fine for me, because it might very well not be. So this is the other end of the flight where I climbed out from Bell. New share, right, and hopefully you'll get, hang on, this one. Right, have you got my slideshow?
Yep.
You got more photos? Yep.
Yep.
Good. Right. Okay. So this is coming into land. So imagine you've had a short flight from somewhere, any hill, doesn't matter. This is landing on the edge of Wareham. This is what I could see. I'd never been there before. I had no idea what was there. So I'm coming in and I'm actually landing because this overdeveloped such a lot, and I was at 4,500 feet going up in the cloud. So I decided, and it looked to me like it was going to rain. And in fact, Sean Staines, he landed about 20 minutes before me, pretty much here. I thought I'm going to get down. So I decided, right, I'm going to land. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm coming in. Where am I going to go? This is what I'm seeing. There's houses, there's all sorts. So with I like big fields. I like really big fields. And I like really big fields with not much in them. So gliding on, got plenty of height. I've got plenty of time to choose where I'm going to go. So if I go back a bit, you can see the main road, the roundabout, houses. I don't want to go that side. So I'm going to go this side of the main road. So what can I see as I'm heading that way? There's the roundabout again. I'm definitely staying this side, and I'm probably, from where I am now and the speed that I'm going, I reckon I'm going to be here somewhere. So that's what I'm aiming for. Right. Don't want to be there. There's all these fields. You could get in the football field, but it's surrounded by stuff. There's houses, there's other things. I don't particularly want to go in the dirt. So we'll look for nice green. This looks all right here. Keep going. Oh yeah, I'll have a sideways look at the houses and that in case anything happens. Right, I'm still heading for this area. There's no trees. I'll look for power lines when I get lower, but I don't think there's going to be any power lines because there's something there. There's houses here, but there probably won't be anything across here. Looks like there's a river. Yep, there's the river. This field is looking favourite. That's possibly okay. That looks all right. There's a track here. The road's there. So let's have a look. Yeah, I look over my shoulder and I'm starting to turn. So yeah, this one looks about right. Turning, that's the field. That's where I'm going to go. That's what I can't see anything that would stop me landing in that field. Yeah, get lower, looks fine. No stock, no nothing. Looks good. So that's that. Now, that was my approach from the end of the track log, coming in over the main road, a little circle to check your wind direction, and then a little S and land. The wind was, I'd come this way, so I sort of expected to land that way. But in fact, when I got there, we had a bit of a convergence and breeze coming from this direction, coming from the west, which I'd sort of expected. So I landed that way. But if I'm not sure about the wind direction when I'm landing, I will probably split the difference between what I'm feeling and the way I've come. So I'd land at 45 degrees. So I'd sort of a bit crosswind, but either way, with a field that big and the grass and that, you should be all right. You shouldn't have a problem. The other thing is, if you should happen to land out anywhere, wherever that might be, please bunch your wing, carry it to the side of the field. Don't leave it laid out in the field. If anybody should happen to be flying behind you or above you and see you land and you don't bunch your wing, they'll come and investigate, or they should do anyway, if they see you. And usually if you're going cross country, other people will be. And the etiquette is move it to the side of the field for a start, because you don't want to be trampling somebody's grass or crops or whatever. Take it out the way, put it under the hedge. But don't ever leave it pulled out in the middle of the field, because if somebody lands and they were on for a really decent distance, they wouldn't be terribly pleased with you. So
Viv,
there you go. Yeah.
I won't switch over to him, but John Reeford was just asking, did you know the wind speed?
No, not the wind speed in miles per hour. I knew how fast I was traveling, and if I'm not sure of how strong it'll be, I just turn into wind, circle. As you turn, you'll see, if you look down at the ground, if you've got an instrument that'll tell you your wind speed, or your ground speed, which mine will, but I don't tend to look at it that much. I just turn into wind, or just circle, fly what you think is into wind. You'll soon find out. If you're going backwards, if it's that strong, you might find as you come into land, you might find there's a shear layer, so that you're not flying forward at height, and then as you descend you are flying forward. Sometimes that happens, or sometimes it can be the other way around. It's not massively windy at height, but it is windy on the ground. So you just circle, and if you're really not sure, do a few circles. Make sure when you're high enough you do a few circles and have a look. The other thing is, look for anything that will give you clues as to the direction of the wind. If there are any birds around and they're landing, birds always land into wind. You'll see grass moving, the usual things, trees, flags, anything. Phil always says golf courses are good because, of course, you've got all the flags. So anything that might help. Right, now I'm going to hopefully share this and I'm going to share the computer sound, which, yeah, will work. This is really nice. The day we were flying at Eyam, this is a friend of mine took a video, and it's lovely, and I thought you might like to see it because it really does give you an idea of what it's like. So enjoy, if it works, Ed's video. If I can get it to work, hold on. Oops, seem to have it running several times. Hold on, I'm going to stop that a minute. Sorry, something happened there. I'm gonna.
Technical.
I had
They
had it going several times. I'm gonna try that one again. Sorry, everybody. That was probably me clicking around.
Well, it looks like a nice video.
It's lovely. Yeah, it's really good.
Good track.
It's excellent. Hold on, I got to do another share. Right, I've got it open several times. That's why. Right. Are you back on my slideshow or not?
No,
Right. Okay.
just
Hold
got
on.
you.
This is the technical side of it. Right. Share screen. There. How about now? Do you have a video?
No,
Right. New share.
I've got sound. Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Yep.
I don't wanna wait anymore. I'm tired of looking for answers. Take me someplace where there's music and there's laughter. I don't know if I'm scared of dying, but I'm scared of living too fast, too slow. Regret, remorse, hold on. No, I gotta go. There's no starting over, no new beginnings. Time raises on. Just gotta keep on keeping on. Gotta keep on going, looking straight out on the road. Can't worry about what's behind you, what's coming for you further up the road. Try not to hold on to what is gone. I try to do right what is wrong. I try to keep on keeping on. Yeah, I just keep on keeping on. I hear a voice calling out for me. These shackles I made in a town to be free. Be it for ease, be it for love. I won't take the easy road. Ooh, 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 oh. I've woken up in a hotel room. My worries as big as the moon. Having no idea what or where something good comes with the bad. The song's never just sad. There's hope. There's a silver lining. Show me my silver lining. Show me my silver lining. I hear a voice calling out for me. These shackles I made in a town to be free. Be it for ease, be it for love. I won't take the easy road. I won't take the easy road, the easy road, the easy road. Oh, I won't take the easy road, the easy road, the easy road. Oh, show me my silver lining. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me my silver lining. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me my silver lining. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me my silver lining. I try to keep on keeping on.
Are we back with the slideshow?
Yeah, you are. Nick Beck's got a question which is dear to my heart.
Go on then.
If Nick can unmute.
Hi Viv.
Hi, Nick.
I was wondering if you had any tips for trying to judge the gradient of the terrain from the air. I often find it difficult trying to work it out.
Are you talking about for landing, or are you talking about hunting for more lift?
Both kind of ground sources if you're getting low, and coming into land as well.
Well, we sort of decided, I've had a number of questions from Jerry as well, which I didn't feel I could cover in this one, but if we manage to do another session, then I think I could probably move on and cover some what I would call slightly more advanced topics, because I just wanted to give people who have no idea what it's like to fly cross country, certainly in the UK, a taste of what it could be like if they had a go. But if you're concerned about terrain from a point of view of landing, I don't worry too much if there's a slope on the ground or not. I'm more concerned about wind direction really when I'm landing, and you can usually get that by turning. I have landed across fields that I thought, oh yeah, that looks fine, and I've come in really nicely and oh, there's a fair old slope on this, but normally you can run across a slope, providing you've got your glider into wind, the slope shouldn't bother you too much. And I've landed going cross country in Wales, climbing out of the Welsh valleys, and they're quite steep, and I've landed on the tops rather than try and land down in the valley, because some of them are quite steep sided and quite sharp. So as you're coming in, if you pick your field right, the fact that it would slope or not, from my point of view, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Other people might have a different view on that, but certainly for me, the most important thing is to get your glider into wind, and anything else you'll manage to cope with. Does that sort of make sense?
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Viv,
yeah.
Just as you're aware at the moment, you've been going for an hour and a quarter now. Do you want 5 minutes?
No, I'm nearly at the end now.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, we've got another couple of slides, and then if we're, if people want to ask questions, fine, or we can stop and wrap it up. I don't mind, but no, I'm nearly at the end now.
Okay.
Hold on. Right, so those pilots that flew cross country, we had a lovely time coming back. We had a nice lift to the station, some chat with the van, and then we all sat and had a coffee and got on the train, which was wonderful. Lots of very happy, cheerful pilots. So if you want to progress with your flying, if you're serious about your flying, and I have to say that when I started, I wasn't terribly serious about my flying. It was something for me to do when I stopped riding horses and competing, and I just enjoyed flying on the coast for a bit. And then I had a little hop, as I said, off Taliban, and I thought, oh, this is quite fun. So if you want to progress, set yourself goals. And I think that's what Lee said the other day when he was talking about SIV and things. Try and improve. What's it they say? Be the best you can be. Yeah, and on a day, try and do something maybe that you haven't done before. Now, when I started flying, Phil had been flying for years, and all the Condors that I flew with, they were all ex-hang-glider pilots, and they couldn't quite work out why I was so fussed about height and it's bumpy and all the other things. So I buddied up with Lester, because Lester moved down here and he'd learned to fly, and we were about the same sort of stage. And so he and I flew together, and when it got rough, I'd look at Lester and he's still flying. Oh, he's still there, so it must be all right. And he'd look at me and go, oh, Viv's still there, so it must be okay. And so between us, we sort of trundled along, flying for a bit longer, getting higher, doing more things. So set yourself, if you can buddy up with somebody and say, oi, look, shall we fly for an hour before we land, or more height? Say to yourself, I am going to do X on this flight. Doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, try and do something that you haven't done before. If you want to fly cross country, you need to fly for quite a length of time. My longest flight was just over the 100k. It took 5.5 hours, and I was knackered at the end of it. I could drive my car for 5.5 hours and not think about it, but flying takes quite a lot out of you. And if you want to fly and you're serious about your flying, take off, even if you're at Wollongong, Bossington, Westbury, wherever, and fly and see how long you can fly for. And yeah, you might get bored going up and down the same piece of ridge, but if you've only done 30 minutes, you aren't going to get very far in 30 minutes. So practice, set yourself goals. Like I said, learn to cope with the height. And once you've done whatever you were going to do, then land, have your coffee, lunch, have a chat, and maybe have another go and see if you can do it a little bit longer. Tasks for the winter. Well, winter's rubbish, so learn something, read, do something. And I find visualization is good. Through the winter, I'll get my photographs out and I'll look at my photographs and I'll remember my flights, because my folders of photos are my logbook, really, for me. That and my flights in the XC League. Look at it. Look at your photos, read books. I've learned a lot about clouds since I've been flying with the GoPro. I have it on 10-second intervals. It gets me all the clouds I want. It'll record for about 3 hours or more, and I can look at them and see all the ones I've missed, all the lifty lines I've missed, all the cloud streets I'd missed. I should have gone that way and I went this way. Get your harness out, sit in it, be comfortable in it, have a cup of tea, just sit in it and get used to it, what it feels like. Swing about in it. There you go. Every flight's an adventure, or an adventure, as Helen says. Enjoy the journey. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Viv.
Thanks very, very much indeed. I've just asked everybody to unmute now. But yeah, I think everybody's unmuted. Are there any questions, please? Any more questions?
I've got an observation, something that the Wessex site put out, a link to a DHV video about landing in strong winds.
Okay.
If anyone has seen it, good. If you haven't seen it, it's well worth a look. It's apropos to landing out or even landing back where you've taken off. It just provides another string to your bow, I think.
Thanks, Tony. Nick, were you just wanted to ask a question, say something? Nick Beck?
Not overly. I was just
Playing with your buttons, Nick.
Yeah, just a high gain on the microphone, I think.
Oh, okay.
Did I cover everything? I must have covered everything.
You did, Viv. It was very good. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would add, I was just talking to Viv before we started, and we've both read the new Bastien Wenzel book, Paragliding for Beginners. It's actually much, much more than that, and it's much better, I think, than anything out there at the moment.
There are lots and lots of good books. I mean, any of the books, but it's just not trying to run before you can walk is the thing, really. And I mean, I've been flying for 20 years. Phil's been flying since the 70s. There's a lot of people have been around for a very long time, and they haven't started by flying 100k flights. You know, they've got there slowly. The kit's got better. The gliders have got better. The technology is there now. So don't feel that you have to do anything. If you're happy just tootling about on the coast or tootling about without going anywhere, that's absolutely fine. There is no pressure for anybody to do anything. As one of our long-standing hang glider pilots in the Condor said, there are no wimps in paragliding. You're just, everybody enjoys their flying. There's no pressure, just do whatever suits you. But if you want any help with anything, please ask. And I think if you ask anybody, any of the more experienced pilots, any questions and say, you know, could you tell me X, Y, Z? Most people are approachable and will help with anything that you want to know.
Viv, thanks an awful lot. That was really great. It was great. I was really, really enjoying it. I was riveted. And we're all looking forward to part 2.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I want some questions. If you want me to do another one, you've got to give me some guidance. I need to know what it is you want to know.
Fair enough.
I've got millions, thousands and thousands of photos and things like we could do clouds and all sorts of track logs and all sorts. But if that's what you want, you need to tell me what it is you want to know.
Okay.
I've got Jerry's already for next time.
Yes.
I can add another one now, which is now we're sitting here in the freezing cold, and we're just talking about lovely warm thermals, which obviously we want to happen immediately. When do they start, and how does the year look in terms of thermals? When do we get hold of these things again?
Yeah, I mean, Coombe opens in February, and people have gone cross country in February. You have to be on the right hill on the right day, obviously, and it's spotting the forecasts and having the time to get out. We've gone cross country in November. Certainly from the coast, you know, you can get decent height in sea thermals, and you might get very far. I mean, we had nice height at Bossington the other day and flew back to the car park, which is a little cross country if you haven't done it before, and it's not that straightforward, but we were thermaling, we were practicing thermaling, we were having a lot of fun. You just need to get out whenever you can and fly. But the thing to remember about early on in the spring, with the weather that we've had, it can be quite strong even in February if you get cold air and sunny days. So if you haven't flown, to go inland then can be quite tricky. So, you know, there's some of the Thames Valley sites, places like Milk Hill, which looks like a very benign, very shallow sloping hill, a bit like Eyam that I just showed you. It kicks thermals and they're very strong. You'd be surprised. But if we're able to go out, we'll certainly be out and we'll say that we are going out. So, yeah.
Okay, Viv, we'll take one final question from Nick Beck. Unfortunately, I think Nick's managed to choose one of those questions, which could be a 10-minute answer. But
Okay.
Nick, if you can unmute, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Viv, throw another one at you.
Okay.
So I've been reading 50K or Bust. I got a copy of it for Christmas, and they were saying that like there's two kind of you can when you're thermaling, you can either kind of tighten when you get to weaker lift, or like you can tighten when you hit stronger lift. And I was just wondering kind of which technique you used, if you use one of those, and what the pros and cons of those two things might be.
Well, for me, I just tend to wander about until I find something I think is worth turning in. There's all sorts. There's the I think it's 4 elephants, is it? You get lift and you count 4 elephants and then you turn. There's different ways of doing it, and different people have their own techniques. I've tried. If you look at some of my early tracks, and maybe another time I'll show you some of my early tracks, I went round and round and my track logs look like a telephone wire. There were so many turns in it, and I fell out of thermals because I was turning so much. Anything that was there, I turned in. So now I found that if I wander through the air rather more, I'm more successful. So try not to be fixated on whether you should tighten on the surge or how it works. Just try and feel the air. And the Varios we've got now are really, really good. I've got an XC Tracer and my Udi as well. I had it upgraded. They are very good. There's no lag. So you don't have the problem that you used to have of waiting with the Vario catches up and then you would try and turn. I don't know if Phil or Lester, do you want to add anything to that? Lester?
No,
Either of you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's weaker, I do tend to basically if the thermal's rowdy, you need to be stronger and more rowdy to it, really. It certainly, if it's pushing you around, you need to crank it up, turn a bit tighter, and it just makes it a nicer ride, really.
yeah, it's definitely always been a case, hang gliding and paragliding. The stronger it is, the tighter you tend to turn, as a very, very general rule. If it's mellow and gentle, you can have big, wide 360s. If it's, as Lester said, if it's rough and lively, it's probably more comfortable to tighten it up anyway.
It depends on the thermal. I mean, sometimes you'll find that thermals will push you away and others will draw you in. It depends where you are, which is why I think the mental visualization is quite important. I mean, a guy who sadly died this year, Wayne Seeley, he was a master of cross-country thermaling and climbing. And I asked him once, how did you do it? And he said, 2 turns and I've mapped the thermal. I've never managed to map a thermal in my life. I wouldn't have a clue, but some people do. And you'll find some people who you'll meet who are just natural pilots and they just do it and they know. And I am sorry, but I am not like that. I got a good glider, I feel the air and I try and feel, as Lester said, if it's a strong climb, you really need to, it's almost like you're trying to catch a bubble under your wingtip. Imagine trying to catch a balloon under your wingtip. You've got it there, you pull on the brake and you're gonna keep it there, like trying to keep it under your armpit and go round with it. But it's all down to, don't overthink it. Just get out and fly and feel the air. Watch what's going on. Watch everybody else. See where the stronger lift is. Try and identify the pilots that are being more successful and try and follow them around and see what they're doing.
Viv, it's Tom. My video is not working.
Okay.
I don't know. My camera's not working. But I was just something like feeling the air. Something Peter Holder said to me earlier this year was like on entering a thermal. So like when I enter a thermal, and I think all wings do, but my wings sort of tend to pitch forwards. I guess because either you're going for a bit of sink or because you're in the lee of the thermal, so the wind drops a bit. And then instinctively, I often tend to try and damp that out, like damp that pitching forward out. And what Peter said was that he lets it dive, lets it pitch forwards, and then he says as you hit the lift, your wing pitches back, and then when he says then he lets it dive forward, and as it's diving again, he turns on that. So he thinks that he's gone through the core, and he believes that he's past the core, and therefore it's time to turn back into it. You got any thoughts on that, or is that only very specific to a given day?
I would say you want to try and just keep your wing flying nicely without pitching or diving or anything else. You will probably find when you find some lift, your wing or pitch, it'll drop back behind you. It'll be knocked back a little bit by the thermal. So if you just allow it to drop back a little bit and then it'll come forward, and as it comes forward, start your turn. Your wing will be going up and down through the air all the time, and just try and fly nicely without disturbing it too much. The wings we've got these days, they hunt for you, a lot of them, even the low end wings. If you, I know I quite like flying with the lower end wings and some of the more novice pilots, because they don't do a lot. The pilots themselves don't do a lot, and the wing is doing quite a bit. And you'll find that a low end wing goes up really, really well. And you'll see some pilots, they'll be just taken away. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm following him because the wing's going. And it's because they're not doing an awful lot, then the wing's doing it for them. Your wing will do a lot of the work. Don't worry too much or get too hung up on breaking it. It's unlikely on the days that you're flying that you're going to get shoved around too much. Just try and, when your Vario tells you you're going up, just start a little bit of a turn and see what happens. If you, for practicing thermaling, Woolacombe's a really good place. Bossington's a really good place in the winter. Woolacombe you can thermal pretty much all the year, and it's nice smooth air with thermals that come through, and so you can work it without having all this rowdy, horrible inland stuff that chucks you about all over the place. It's all a feel. Don't try and get too technical about it. Just feel what's going on. Try some little turns and see. But don't worry too much about diving, pitching, or anything else. Just feel the air. Go with it.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Viv. There's no more questions come up. I know 1 or 2 people have had to leave.
That's okay.
I think it's time again to say thank you. Can't wait for part 2. And we'll catch you soon.
Well, you need to send me some questions, you lot, first.
I'm sure everybody will.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Thank you for organising.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Mike. Very good.
Bye.